Hi everyone, it's Brett here from Metropole. Well, what will Brisbane's best performing suburbs be as we head into 2022? It's usually this time of year a host of property commentators come out and reveal what their top picks are. I don't usually buy into it too much, after all, you know what they say about opinions, but this year I felt compelled to comment as I could see some holes in their analysis. One suburb that caught my attention in particular appears to be on almost everybody's radar. Well, everybody probably except for ours. You see, I feel it has the potential to be a major trap for many uneducated investors and wanted to provide a level of perspective. You see, the big picture looks bright, however, when you get into the detail, it does not stack up for mine. So let's break it down and look at a few other suburbs we see huge potential in. Probably the most talked about suburb at the moment I'm seeing in Brisbane, Queensland, is Wollongabba. And from an overall macro perspective, it's easy to see why. There's a lot of transformation and change happening. There's the revival of the Gabba precinct, there's the Cross River rail tunnels. There's a major change of things happening in that particular area. So from a macro perspective, it looks like everything's happening. But you've got to understand the difference between physical growth and capital growth, and that's critically important. What we're seeing in the Wollongabba precinct is going to be more physical growth than anything. Capital growth is really going to lack. To start with, if you dig a little bit deeper and look at the micro perspective and the micro numbers and detail, from a demographics perspective, 2/3 of the occupants in that area are renters, which means the majority of people in that area is driven by investors, and that's not something we historically look for. You'll always see that areas with a good owner-occupier percentage generally perform better. Investors tend to buy with their calculator, they're not emotional, whereas homeowners tend to get over-emotional. They don't mind if they pay too much, they over-capitalise, and then they renovate and revate and reinvigorate areas as well. So that's kind of what we're looking for, and that's not going to happen in Wollongabba, unfortunately. There's going to be a lot more high rises that continue to happen. The roads are going to get busy. There's going to be more congestion. So yes, it looks great from a big picture perspective. But from the micro perspective, it's really starting to lack a few things, and that's really a concern. I don't see more owner-occupiers being driven to that location. One area I would recommend looking at, though, rather than Wollongabba, is just shifting slightly out a little bit, half a kilometre to a kilometre, and looking at Dutton Park. From a macro perspective, it's equally as impressive because it's going to benefit all those things that Wollongabba are going to benefit from. But I guess what's better than having one Cross River rail stop? Having two Cross River rail stops, and also the massive drawcard that's going to be the new Dutton Park Secondary School. That's going to be a new state catchment for high schools, and we all know what happens with property prices and really strong school catchments. So I see that area really starting to gentrify, being attracted by more homeowners, being less busy, having more green space. And that's something I would have on my radar. Move out of that busy Wollongabba precinct that's going to be driven by investors and get into the more emotive homeowner market of Dutton Park and all that it's got to offer without skipping on what you're going to get in Wollongabba. The next suburb we've got a real eye on is Stafford, and that's really starting to benefit from the ripple effect. Areas closer in are really starting to price people out, but also those areas are zoned, they've got character overlays where you can't remove and knock down houses. So more elevated areas in Stafford are seeing people come in and knock over houses and get those elevated aspects, and it's a real draw card. There's some really strong money being spent there at the moment. Gentrification is really starting to ramp up, and I really predict that's going to really move strongly, kicking off now, but obviously heading into 2022 as well. The next one we're looking at is Mount Gravatt. It's a similar story to Stafford, slightly further out and on the south side, but this is becoming more of a mini satellite city. It's midway, between, I guess, the CBD, not between the Gold Coast, but it has the element to get on the M1 and get out to the Gold Coast quite quickly. It also has a massive shopping precinct there, and the need to get into the CBD is rapidly diminishing because everything's at your doorstep. Again, look for those elevated pockets and beware of zoning in those types of areas because there is a lot of zoning happening in and around there. You want to be close enough to benefit, but not too close that it becomes a detraction. So guys, they're the suburbs we've got our eyes on. It pays to dig a little bit deeper. Don't just look at the macro perspective. You've got to understand that on the ground perspective. It could really make the difference between a good property and a great investment property in the long run. Thanks for watching.